Thank you for tuning in to Investment Insight presented by McCay Wealth Advisory. My name is Hayden Proffitt, and joining us today we have Brent McCay. Brent, 2023, 2024, 2 years that financial scams have really been on the rise. It's something that we've seen a lot. I think we need to elaborate on that just to warn people that there are bad players, bad actors at play.
Yeah, so obviously, when you look at theft and you look at what people imagine with theft, you imagine somebody robbing a bank or somebody showing up here with a gun or something. Well, most theft these days is digital. Now that we've gone into a digital world, it's a lot easier to remotely come in and try to steal money and hack. Obviously a lot of our customers are on Facebook, so there are just a ton of scams related to Facebook. There's some simple rules to follow. If somebody's messaging you and they're very attractive and they're sending you stuff, well, it's probably not them, because a lot of us grew up where you had the network news and you had the sources you were getting for information were vetted, and there was a system in place to make sure inaccurate stuff was not put on. And when you put inaccurate stuff out there, you were fired. When news anchors made stories up or they're fired. Well, now if you do inaccurate stuff on social media, you get more attention, because so much of the communication information today is fed on quick little bites that may be true, may not be true. And we see that the rise of fake information and untrue information just at extreme levels,
Right.
on things, and that makes it hard for people to realize what is true and what is not true without doing a lot of research.
Right. And I think that, if it ever sounds too good to be true,
Right.
at any point on any medium, whether it be, we're going to get into some of these in a little bit, but Facebook, text messaging, if somebody is offering you something and you're like, that seems awesome, like at first glance, you should approach it with a little bit of skepticism.
Well, that's the simple rule is if someone says, hey, you give them 50 grand and you're going to turn it into $500,000 in a week. Well, why would they be contacting you?
Right.
I mean, if they were that good, they don't need you. I mean, I had a teacher in college who was a great trader of investments, and he actually did some trading on a credit card and made some money. Well, he didn't need anybody else to make that money. And so the common sense there is, hey, if it's too good to be true, it doesn't end. Think about this. Like, take it yourself out of your picture. Think about, well, why would they need me and my money if they could do that?
Right.
They don't need your money. And so that's usually a fake scam. We see a lot of those on Facebook, a lot of messages. I know that right now I get text messages multiple times a day from random numbers where they're trying to basically do the same thing, or obviously we get tons of emails. But and those are a couple things to look at. Hey, make sure that you're getting some theft protection, some identity theft protection as well, which is another topic we'll talk about later, to get some protection for these type of things.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes back to that thing of, if I have a bucket of gold coins buried in the backyard, no offense, we're really good friends, but I'm probably not going to tell you. I'm probably not going to be like, hey, why don't you come over to my yard? I got a bucket of gold coins.
Yeah, here's where it is.
Here's where it is. Let me drop you a pin on it on Apple Maps right quick. So, and this has been on the rise too with cyber currencies as well, like cryptocurrency. Yeah. I think we've seen a lot of scamming in the years on that. I mean, and just kind of hit on that, how people could get swayed based on.
So obviously, you got cryptocurrencies. They've been the rage, and obviously, as we're doing this video, they're hitting some higher levels. But the whole idea of crypto is that you have a digital currency where there's no central government. There's nobody controlling the money supply. Well, and that sounds great, and I'm a free market person. However, the challenge is that also means there's no regulations. There's no controls. There's nobody making sure your money doesn't get stolen. So like literally, your password is your money. So if you forget your password or you make a change, it's gone. And there's nobody to call. These cryptocurrencies, which are free, there's no support line. There's no people. It's basically just, it's funded by people that come up with the Bitcoins, the cryptocurrencies. It's funded by those actual coins. And so like, if you think about, if you have a bank and the bank takes your money, well, they're hoping to loan that money out to somebody else. So the way that banks work is they function as agents of loaning money to other people. So they have a profit center. So yeah, that you can give them your money and they'll pay you interest, but they're going to loan that out to somebody else for more money.
Right.
The idea with that makes cyber or cryptocurrency so challenging is you only have so many of these coins. There's a very, very small fee to transfer them. So how do these companies make enough money to stay around? And we've seen a lot of them went out of business in 2023, and probably a lot more will go out in the future, because you have to have a business model where you can provide service and you can, most importantly, provide trust and protection. And if your money is only protected as good as your password,
it's not much protection.
That's not much protection. And I feel like a lot of it is, a lot of people made a lot of money because it's kind of like a pyramid scheme. If you got in first and you bought it before everybody else did, you can make money. But that's not really an investment where, if you buy a company and they produce a product or a service, if you grow corn, you put a seed in, you got something to sell. Whereas here, it's basically just you're selling a digital coin.
Right. And I know that we don't recommend crypto in our office. It's not one of those things that we go with. But if someone was to want to invest in crypto, obviously against our guidance and what we believe is in their best interest,
yes,
how would you legitimize how they would enter into the crypto
Great question.
range?
So you got some more legitimate exchanges like Coinbase and some of them that are more legitimate. But remember, we've seen a scam recently where they created something that looked like a legitimate currency exchange. They created a website that looked like it. It wasn't even it. Because so it looked real. So when I looked at it, I'm like, man, this looks real. And then I go try to log in on the website, matching the exchange, and there's no login, which means they've created a complete fake website showing someone's money that doesn't exist. And so you got to be very careful, because this isn't, JP Morgan or Bank of America, where those companies have thousands of people working there making sure that they're legitimate websites, make sure it's going. And also they have lawyers that are ready to strike down the illegitimate websites on your money.
Right.
So, it's the Wild Wild West. And that's okay. You can make a lot of money in the Wild Wild West. But remember, the Wild Wild West, you're carrying a gun on your hip.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be trading those, you better have a gun in your hip. And you better be ready to go. And I'll be honest, I'm not as agile as I was 15 years ago. And a lot of cowboys are not 40. So they're probably pretty young. So that's just the thing to factor into.
Right. And I think another thing, so I think that kind of hits on the crypto part, but what about the sources of information that this comes from? The media. You and I both read a couple different websites and just kind of hit on those.
So the number one thing, if you look at the news media market, I was watching a TV program and all I saw was gold advertisements. And so I could tell this is a very prominent network that whoever, it might be free for me to turn this news network on, but actually it's not free because I got to buy some gold while I'm here. And when you're paying a 30% commission on buying that gold, that could be a motivation for a lot of people selling it. So I like paid subscriptions. I think it's important to fill your mind up with good information, with accurate stuff, with positive information and negative information. But more importantly, when you're paying that subscription, that company's making money. Well, if that company makes money, then they can stay around. They also can pay to vet certain people. So I, personally carry subscriptions for Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal, because Bloomberg tends to be a little bit more left. Wall Street Journal tends to be more right.
Right.
And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get an objective opinion from some people that have good information. A lot of the other networks and information out there is just fake. They don't vet the information. Whatever you can put up there that can draw a click, because if you get a click, you get an ad. And if you get an ad, you get money. And so my little brother, of course, he had a business for a while where he was doing some gaming rating systems, and they had put up some art, and they had so much attention on this art. It had nothing to do with what they were doing that it crashed the website, and they made a ton of money. But the point of it is when you're going with clicks and you're going with stuff, they're just trying to make money with the clicks.
Right.
They're not actually making the money on the information. So I also believe in reading down the line. Don't always read the first two stories. Read the bottom stories. That's a lot of the information that really matters. It's amazing how when we're doing Investment Insight, I'll read a publication and there's something in there, a little tidbit that is new. And I'm like, wait a minute. there's a law coming because of this.
Yeah.
There's something going to happen because of this. There's going to be a Supreme Court case because of this, because that's what's really relevant to you as an investor. But pay for your information. It's not that much money. Obviously nobody likes spending money, but I mean, you retire, you might have some time to be reading information. Read good quality stuff. Watch good quality stuff.
Yeah.
Don't watch the junk, because you're going to start believing it. Then they're going to steal your money. And so that couple $100 a year you would have paid in a subscription, or $100 a year, it's going to cost you a lot more money
Right.
with the junk.
Right.
And then that ends you make a bad investment decision, and it can be disastrous.
It's kind of like my granddad used to say, garbage in, garbage out.
That's right.
And I think that's it's what you fill your mind with. And it's so applicable to not only in the investing world, but life in general.
Oh, yeah. And you look at the political stuff now, like there's such agendas from different sites, because if you look at social media, you tend to hang out with people like you.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got very deep political convictions, and most of my friends naturally do too. And they're the same as me. Well, how does that help me understand the people that don't agree with me if all the people around me are like me? And if you look at our churches, if you look at organizations, everybody kind of looks similar.
Yeah.
And if you really look at what we're called to do and what's more beneficial is be a community.
Yeah.
And that's something we're missing today. And but news media is one of the worst ways to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Switching gears a little bit, passwords.
Correct.
What is one thing that I can tell you? One thing you stress to me and everyone in our office is two-factor authentication.
Yeah, and you'll see this in our office. Recently we had a Facebook page in 2023, and we had a team member who did not put two-factor authentication on Facebook. So our office Facebook page was hacked because there wasn't two-step verification. So one thing you want to do is you want to have that two-step verification on everything you have. If it's Facebook, if it's your email, if it's your checking accounts, your bank accounts, everything you have, your credit cards, make sure you have two-factor authentication, because it's easy to steal your password. It's harder to steal your password and your cell phone. That doesn't mean you're impervious. Doesn't mean you can't be in trouble. And also make a complicated password. If your password is, I love the St. Louis Cardinals, that's not a hard one to guess for Brent McCay. But if you have a bunch of different letters and numbers and things scrambled, it's going to be harder for them to guess it. And make it more than 5 or 6 digits. Make it something a little longer on that end. And so I would just say numbers, letters, characters, random things. Make it hard. One of the things that I carry with me is an encrypted flash drive. That way, I've got my password manager in there. But in order for you to get it, you're going to have to take my keys, and you're going to have to take my encrypted flash drive, and you're going to have the code to get into it. And then you better get my cell phone too, and its code too, because I got two-factor as well. And so that's one thing that makes it very difficult for our stuff to be hacked. Not impossible, but make it harder. And recently we were talking about this in Investment Insight last week. We had a customer's email was hacked. They took his contacts. They found out that he got statements and financial information from us, and they emailed us asking for money with an email that looked exactly like him. You could spell it out. It's very unique. They created an email account just to do that. Mm-hmm. And this is not the first time that's occurred. So make sure you don't just do your checking accounts, your bank accounts, they make you do two-factor pretty much now.
Right.
Don't forget to do that for your email. Do it for your Facebook, because they don't make you do it.
Right.
You need to do that because, look, your Facebook, you have your birth date, you got all your friends, you get all your family members, you get all the pictures of your grandkids. All that stuff's right there.
Yeah.
That's pretty important.
Yeah.
So make sure you do two-factor authentication.
Absolutely. And we talked about emails. I mean, even the situation where my email got spoofed, some hacker spoofed not my personal work email, but they created an email to where it looked like it was me. And if you didn't pay attention to the difference in Outlook in between Hayden Proffitt as the name versus the actual email it came from, which was like XYZ at blah, blah, blah.com, whatever it was.
And we see all the time, because our emails are on our website.
Yeah.
It's very clear that people are intentionally taking those emails off. And lately they've been attempting to spoof you. And they don't do it to me, it's you. But here's the thing. That's why it's very, very important also to communicate with the people you're talking to. If you get an email from us and it looks funny, give us a phone call.
Yeah.
Call the people. Make sure you're real. Because when we're looking at stuff right now, if you only talk to people via email, it'd be pretty easy to hack your identity.
Yeah.
Make sure they know who you are.
It's come a long way from this is an obvious email, like this is obviously a scam. This is obviously, just kind of like which one stands out in the room. This was more convincing. And in the AI world, even more.
Yeah.
Now that they can spoof not only your email, but your voice as well.
Well, that's the thing that, we are getting ready for next is, you think about if you can program a phone, which you can do this, to have your cell phone number on it. Mm-hmm. And you can take your voice print and you can call and request money. That's going to happen. And so one of the things that we've got to, which I won't put it publicly online, but we have some additional security measures in effect to attempt to prevent that from occurring.
Right.
And we've done some redundancies, but this is why it's important that your banker knows you.
Right.
If you're doing business with somebody, they don't know who you are, and you're not watching your accounts, expect money to be stolen. Mm-hmm. In our office, we don't take every customer that comes in the door. We do limit how many people we work with. So we want to know customers. One of the main reasons why you're here, Hayden, in the office is our business has created opportunities where there's more people to serve, and you're talented. And so the benefit we have there is I want to make sure you know every customer you service, just like you want to make sure I know every customer I service.
Right.
That way, if something's out of character, if somebody is requesting money, if you call Fidelity or you call Schwab, they don't know who you are.
No.
They don't know anything about you.
They don't know anything about us beyond a strategic master account number. That's about all they know. And
so, with us, they know us because our service team that we work with, those people know patterns.
Right.
But
sure.
for a customer, they don't know the difference. Well, we know the customer. And so when we're looking at, that's very important because that keeps your money from being at risk as much. And so that reduces your risk and reduces the chance of fraud. And of course, we carry insurance too in the event something bad does occur. And there's some options there. But, with this new AI world, with these new voice prints, with these new patterns, there's going to be a lot of weird stuff. Mm-hmm. And they have these things called deep fakes where you can basically make some very nasty things occur that are not true, that look real. Mm-hmm. And that's been coming.
Yeah. And then the last thing we'll kind of hit on with scams wise is this one hurts in a way because people don't just donate to charity because they do it because they want to further a mission, because they want to help somebody who's underprivileged. And I think it's a noble thing with the if I'm transcripting this, semicolon, however, there are some charities that are simply not 501c3s or simply not vetted. And I guess how do we ensure that those are legitimate?
So it's a great question. My wife was watching a TV show about this lady who was faking that her child had cancer so she could raise money. And she got all this money off of faking her, and then her child ended up being part of her murder. And so one of the things that you look at with charities is, you want to make sure that you do your due diligence. One of the big things when you look at Proverbs and you look at the Bible is they talk about being a good steward of money and making sure, a fool and his money are soon parted. Well, first thing you start with is make sure the charity is legitimate. And there's an IRS tool for 501c3s where you can look it up and you can see, is this charity current with their forms? I ran the Viola half marathon several years ago, and I just happened to look for this video, and there they were. They were in effect. They had done their paperwork. They were legitimate. If you look at your church organizations, ask them, what is their budget? What are they spending money on? How much money, where I go to church, we do communion every week. And one of the things I always say is you give money at the end of communion, is Charles tradition is we're giving this money for community service, for works, for projects. Well, one of the things I look for is my church actually doing that? I look at their budget. Are they actually doing what they say they're going to do? And that's another part is you have the legitimate IRS tools. We had a charity where a customer wanted to give some money to, and we found out they had not done the 501c designation. They were not current charity. And the sad part was, a couple of the board members didn't know they hadn't done it. So just because you're friends with somebody doesn't mean you shouldn't verify.
Right.
You know, one of my favorite sayings, you probably get tired of it, is I'm from Missouri, the show me state. And it's true. It's not what you tell me. It's what do you show me.
Right.
So double check that. And then also further down is, you know, you need to know where your money's going. You need to know these organizations are doing what they say they're going to do. So check on it. Be a good steward of that money. Make sure that you're not contributing to, bad things, to good things, to good organizations.
Right. Perfect. I think that's a great way to kind of wrap that one up. So thank you so much for your time today, and I appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in to Investment Insight.
Thanks.